Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jess Hughes and I am a part of the Swansea Link team here at Swansea University. You may have noticed that we are running the Link event a little differently today. So instead of a meeting format that we normally use, we are trialling a webinar. So please give us your feedback and let us know what you prefer afterwards. A little housekeeping to start. Most importantly, I hope everyone has a fresh cup of tea or coffee and we can get started. As you would have heard, the event is being recorded and will be made available afterwards. If you have any questions for our speakers today, please post them into the Q&A function and we will come to them at the end. Also, we'll be using the hashtag #RSwansea, so if you'd like to engage with us on Twitter, please use that. So diving straight into our presentations, our first speaker today is our new Pro-Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation, Professor Helen Griffiths. So welcome, Helen, and I shall pass over to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Jess. Nearly made the first technical error by not switching my microphone off. So it's my great pleasure to welcome you all today to today's Swansea University Link webinar, Accessing Increased Research, Development and Innovation Funding. Looking at today's delegate list, it's really pleasing to see such a wide range of colleagues, partners and potential collaborators with us today. Guests from across South Wales and beyond, from local businesses to funding bodies, government and higher education. With a good mix of university internal and external stakeholders, we'll be doing our best to avoid these institutional abbreviations that we drop into sometimes, so that we'll be keeping the session informative and relevant to as many audiences as possible. If you are unsure on anything, or if you do have queries, as Jess mentioned, please do put these in the chat and we'll do our very best to pick these up as we go. So first of all, from me, a very huge thank you to you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us, and a special thank you to today's lineup of speakers. This afternoon, you'll be hearing directly from Innovate UK and the Welsh Government about some of the current funding streams to support collaborative research, development and innovation projects. You'll hear from colleagues at Swansea University about how we can work together and learn of some of the benefits of collaboration from one of our current knowledge transfer partnership projects. At the end of today's session, our guest speakers will be joining members of our engagement team to offer confidential one-to-one sessions. So these will be online via Zoom, providing more detail around the funding schemes and offering an opportunity to start scoping out potential opportunities for collaboration. If you would like to arrange a meeting, either for straight after today's main session or at a more convenient time, please email our event organisers. So today's session, as we mentioned, is being recorded for dissemination post-event, and it's been organised by our colleagues working on the Swansea University Link network. So I want to offer my huge thanks to them for all the work that they've put in to make this event possible. The network itself is free to join and open to everyone and free to attend. And it brings together private, public and third sector organisations that are looking to collaborate for growth. In addition, it provides all members to Swansea University's talented pool of graduates and students, access to our world-leading research and development support, our first-in-class facilities and equipment, our professional training and skills development opportunities, and access to our support network and R&D funding intelligence. If you haven't signed up as a member and would be interested in doing so, please do consider signing up via the link and engage with us on our LinkedIn group. This year marks Swansea's centenary year, 100 years since King George V visited Singleton Park to lay our foundation stone. As an institution, we were founded by industry and for industry. And as we've developed and grown, collaboration has and will remain at the heart of everything that we do. Working together to drive innovation, and in doing so, supporting social and economic development within our region, has quite possibly never been as important as it is right now, today. I joined the university this year in the middle of the global pandemic, and I've seen firsthand the innovative spirit, the flexibility and commitment of our funders, partners, collaborators, students, research community and support staff, who have all risen to the challenges 2020 has sent in our direction. Collectively, we've dealt with a lockdown of research facilities, a mass movement to home working, the furloughing of some of our research and support staff, and we've worked through significant uncertainties in times of applying for new research funding and delivering on existing projects. One of the things that attracted me to Swansea was its ambition to produce research with real-world impact. To have joined the university at this extraordinary time has demonstrated to me that we are able to weather the toughest of times, yet achieve so much. This is testament to our ability to innovate at speed and under pressure, and to the resilience and resourcefulness of all of our people. This year has encapsulated that ethos. With the support and flexibility of our funders and partners, much of our world-class research and innovation activity has been repurposed at pace in the fight against COVID-19, with examples including the sanitising of ambulances, the manufacture of hand gels, the development of life-saving ventilators, studies into the impact of the virus on the physical and mental well-being of our population, the diarising of COVID-19 experiencing, the raising funds for those most in need, and the mapping of the spread of COVID-19, which has informed Welsh Government policy. I'm very much aware that challenging times are still to come, and I truly hope that our guests today are managing within the current and ever-evolving circumstances. It is my hope and belief that in the years to come, when we look back on 2020 and our centenary year, we'll take great pride and inspiration from the outstanding and humbling actions of our partners, our funders, our colleagues, our families and our friends. As with all of the Swansea University Link events, today is about collaboration, and I would like to start by reinforcing a key message to all of our guests today. Swansea University is your university. We are here to drive economic and social development within our region and are actively looking to develop and grow collaboration with stakeholders across Wales and beyond. Our digital doors are very much open, and we've the space to drive and commitment to collaborate. For those of you that are relatively unfamiliar with research and innovation at Swansea, I wanted to give you a quick overview of the scale, diversity and direction of travel of activity that's taking place. In the face of extreme adversity this year, the volume of research funding and cash awards secured from major funding bodies has continued to remain buoyant. These are effectively grants we've been successful in winning and were captured over the last academic year. In 2020, or the 1920 academic year as we consider it from the university, we captured £68 million, representing an increase on the 52 million captured in 1819. Including in this figure is funding for activity with a wide range of public, private and third sector organisations that will drive innovation and growth together. As you'll see from the infographic, 17 million of this funding was from the EU and over 20 million from the UK government. The strength in grant capture from non-EU sources is particularly encouraging as the Brexit transition rapidly approaches. And it's good to see that we've maximised the opportunities to capture EU funding whilst the stream has remained available. Much of this new activity will support projects focused on tackling COVID-19 and facilitating economic and social development within South Wales and beyond. From supporting businesses to develop and grow through leadership and development training, to bringing new innovation to life, and working with organisations to understand and solve industry challenges. As an institution, we recognise that we have a responsibility to work with and for our students, our staff, our communities across Wales and beyond. We will continue to take pride in playing a role in creating new innovations, new jobs, new businesses, and upskilling workforces to face many of the challenges that lay ahead. Looking ahead, 924 proposals were submitted within the last academic year with a combined value of £162 million. And we eagerly await news of those that have been successfully funded. It is vital that we continue to build on this momentum over the coming months, working with organisations in driving inward investment to bolster research, development and innovation capacity within our region. History tells us that organisations that continue to utilise and invest in R&D when times are hard will fare better than those that do not, helping to increase efficiencies, adapt to change, develop new products and services, and increase productivity and performance. Looking at the total research and innovation portfolio overseen by our Research Engagement and Innovation Services team, there are currently 922 live research projects with a value of almost £400 million. This covers an extremely diverse range of activities, from steel innovation to health innovation, smart manufacturing, justice and equality, sustainable futures, energy, the environment, culture, communications, heritage, and digital futures. The scale of the university's activities and ambition is matched by clear successes in the most recent of the Research Excellence Frameworks, which rank Swansea University within the top 30 research-intensive institutions in the UK. In growing our research and innovation base, we've now amassed 100 years of experience in developing collaborations, finding and applying for funding, and delivering successful collaborative projects with major impact. Much of this knowledge is readily available to all of those we collaborate with, and I would encourage you to engage with the event organisers with any queries you may have on this process. Our research and innovation activities are funded by over 300 unique sponsors, which range from industry partners to charities, health boards, research councils, and the governments of Wales, the UK, and the EU. We have knowledge of currently available funding streams, relationships with major funding bodies, and knowledge of specific requirements. Colleagues have also played a key role in helping to inform the future funding landscape within Wales, feeding into a range of strategy consultations which have paved the way for funding streams that we will facilitate and increase in Wales' research and innovation capacity. So what's the impact of all this collaborative activity? Well, it's huge and covers everything from our students being given an opportunity to undertake placements, apprenticeships, and gain employment with industry partners, to hundreds of industry research partners co-locating on our campuses. It has led to the establishment of successful new startup businesses and the development and commercialisation of new technologies. As an industry founded by industry, for industry, we've developed partnerships with a wide range of organisations, many of whom you may recognise on this slide. The vast majority of businesses in Wales are micro businesses and SMEs, and one of the most rewarding things for us is to have the opportunity to collaborate with these organisations and to play a role in their development and growth. Natalie and Howard will be covering the detail behind knowledge transfer partnerships and smart partnerships. I thought I'd briefly touch on why these are such an important priority for us as an institution. We know that relationships can take many years to develop and grow. Ideas and visions may be realised at pace or take time to test, refine and shape. Collaborating on short, relatively small-scale research and innovation collaborations are an ideal mechanism to test the water and to start the ball rolling. For our colleagues at Swansea University, there is increased support via the HEFQ Research Innovation Wales Fund, and activities can be counted within REF metrics. There may also be opportunities to publish papers, evidence the impact of research and increase opportunities for our students to gain experience and employment opportunities. For our collaborators, these grants open the door to a huge amount of academic knowledge and experience. With 75% of the project's costs funded by the Welsh Government for knowledge transfer partnerships at present, a relatively small initial commitment will lead to a significant return in terms of bolstering research and innovation capacity to sustain and develop and grow activities. Our key points of contact for both internal and external inquiries are listed here. Colleagues are on hand to facilitate the development of exciting new projects. Now really is the perfect opportunity to take advantage of this increased funding. And a perfect time for me to hand over to Natalie Crawley from the Welsh Government to find out more. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks very much, Helen. That was great. So we do have a slight change to the agenda this afternoon. Our next speaker is actually going to be Simeon Smith from the Swansea Employability Academy, who's going to give us a little bit more information with regards to graduate employment opportunities. Over to you, Simeon. Thank you.
Hello, thank you very much, and thank you, Helen. As Jess said, my name's Simeon. I work in the Employability Academy. We're a central service for mostly for students looking for employment and graduate opportunities after they finished their courses, and during their courses we also help organise internships, which is what I'd like to talk to you about today. So we've just launched last week our internship grants for businesses and employers. So if you're interested in taking one of our students for an internship, it can be fully funded. So we can pay up to £2,000 per internship. So that would cover a student's salary for 6 weeks if it was full time, or if it was part time. That's the equivalent, 210 hours for the student. So if you'd like more information on this, I've got the email address there. I will also be around during the presentations today. So if you want to message me in the chat or post anything in the Q&A, but I just wanted to tell you quickly how this would work. We have a jobs board, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, to advertise opportunities to our students. So once you've got a job description, once you've told us what you'd like the intern to do, we just post it on there. The selection process is entirely up to you. We can support you if you'd like, but if there's a particular skill set that you need and you'd like to select the candidates in a particular way, just let us know and we'll be able to facilitate that. Once the student's in place, as I said, you just invoice us and for the grant, and we'll be able to organise that. We do need to approve these before the jobs are advertised, so just make sure you get in touch, as I said, either in the chat or at the email address on screen right now, employmentzone@swansea.ac.uk, before the role is advertised. And lastly, I just wanted to leave you with some ideas of what companies are currently using it for. In particular, with the theme of research and innovation, today lots of our partners do use students, and in particular our postgrad students, on internships, because postgrad students are often looking for internships as well for research roles. We also have had students do really successful internships in bid writing, and there can also be just any business need that you have. At the moment, a lot of our marketing students are preparing kind of like transfer to online for businesses and helping them with their web presence and web marketing. So those are just a few ideas, but you know how broad the courses are that we offer here at Swansea University. So anything one of our students, be that undergraduate or postgraduate, could get involved in, we'd love to hear from you. Please do drop me an email. The funding is limited, and we've already had tons of people sign up in just the first week, which has been brilliant news. So please do get in touch very soon if you want to take advantage of this funding. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Simeon. That was great. Okay, so our next presentation is from Natalie Crawley at Welsh Government, who's going to give us some more information on the Smart Partnership Programme. So over to you, Natalie.
Yes, and good afternoon, everybody. As Jess said, my name is Natalie Crawley, and I manage the Smart Partnerships and K2P programme within the Welsh Government. Could I have the first slide, please? Brilliant, thank you. So what I'd like to do today is run through just a few slides outlining the Smart Partnerships, what Smart Partnerships are, but more importantly, I wanted to show you exactly how they work and the successes the programme has brought to one of the projects we've supported. I feel there's no other better way to show you how you could potentially benefit from the programme than showing you a real life example via a video case study. But before I do, just a little bit of information for you. So the aim of Smart Partnerships is to increase the capability and capacity of businesses to undertake research, development and innovation activity through knowledge transfer. They aim to secure competitive follow-on funding and also to encourage innovative, collaborative partnerships between businesses and research organisations, just like Swansea University. Smart partnerships offer financial support to innovative, collaborative projects that require a range of expertise to help businesses grow, improve productivity, and increase competitiveness in partnership with research organisations. The funding can be used for projects minimum 6 to 12 months in duration, with the aim of springboarding onto a longer term project, for example, a knowledge transfer partnership, which Howard will be talking about next. Average cost per project is looked at on a case-by-case basis, but on average, total project cost for a one-year project is anything in between £40,000 to £80,000, 50% contribution from the business and 50% contribution from the Welsh Government. These eligible costs include and cover the associate employment costs, development, academic costs, equipment and consumables, and any staff costs where applicable from the business, and also D&S. Smart partnership projects are funded by the Welsh Government, and the Welsh Government funding will be awarded to the research organisation. Funding will support 100% of the research organisation's eligible project costs, be matched by a minimum of 50% from the business. The business partner shall provide the remaining balance of the total eligible costs through match funding, either in cash or in-kind contribution. One thing though is the contract research and provision of research services are not eligible for this programme. Could I have the next slide, please? So let's talk a little bit how the project is delivered. Smart partnerships aim to create a three-way mutually beneficial collaboration between a business, research organisation like Swansea University, and a suitably qualified person known as an associate. And this associate will need the capability to lead the proposed project. To break it down, business wants to innovate and grow. Swansea University has an academic who has the expertise and knowledge to help, and the associate will transfer that knowledge from the academic into the business. It is expected that the businesses will exploit or commercialise the knowledge of this smart partnership, or undertake further development through other avenues of support. For example, like I've mentioned previously, knowledge transfer partnerships. The project must demonstrate that all partners are working collaboratively and will deliver positive well-being of future generations' impacts. More information can be found within the application documents, which are on our website, and I will share this link with you at the end of the presentation. Eligibility. To be eligible for consideration for funding, all applications must clearly evidence and demonstrate that the lead partner is a Welsh research organisation. The project needs to be a business driven with Welsh business clearly demonstrating the capacity and resource to exploit the outcomes of the project. Non-Welsh businesses can be considered only in exceptional cases and must have a clear business case that demonstrates a positive impact on the well-being of future generations. The project needs to demonstrate significant challenges and benefits to all partners. So with regards to the recruitment of the associate, there are two options currently available. Number one, the associate is formally employed by the research organisation. The decision on who to appoint rests jointly with the business and research organisation. Or the associate can be employed by the business with their salary costs being used as match funding for the project. It could be the case also that it's an existing member of staff within the business. So Joe Bloggs is working in the business and has the experience and qualifications to do the project, to lead on the project, and their salary costs can be used too. So the requirements for the associate should have qualifications and or experience that match the project delivery requirements. Minimum BTEC, diploma 3 or equivalent, or they can have the relevant experience. The appointed associate will be based within the business to develop and implement the project, and they shall meet with the research supervisor on a regular basis to progress the project. So can I have the next slide, please? So I'm going to show you a video case study of one of our many Smart Partnership successes. But before I do, just to give you a brief overview, the challenge, this Smart Partnership was between Aston Martin and the University of Wales, Trinity St David. And the challenge was Aston Martin wanted to build their capabilities in the process of bonding structures. So to enable them to do this, they collaborated with University of Wales, Trinity St David, with 2 academic members of staff from the School of Engineering. And this knowledge transfer was carried out by 2 associates. So could we play the video, please?
The Smart Partnership, which we undertook with Aston Martin Lagonda, was a link between university academic staff, research associates and engineers from Aston Martin itself. So we focused on the area of body structures, product development and advanced manufacturing, and looking to streamline some of the operations within those activities within the company.
It's what University of Wales Trinity St David has been known for years in terms of our industrial relevance and our industrial-led programmes. We think it's phenomenally important that our programmes develop graduates that are industry ready. What we need to be doing is ensuring those graduates then have got employment opportunities in companies with the right level skills, with the high quality skills that we're developing in automation, simulation, etc. And what we've seen with Welsh Government Smart Partnership is it really benefited the university in terms of our teaching delivery, but also in then really putting in context for the students where they can take these skills, where they can learn the skills in the university, but also where they can apply them then in industry, for industry.
So the Smart Partnership with Aston Martin was to refine the adhesive process. This could be things, you want to make the car lightweight as possible. The lighter the car, the more sporty it feels and the more fuel efficient the car is as well. I wouldn't be in this company without the Smart Partnership. I feel like it was a great way to get into a automotive business without going through the traditional routes.
I think it's had a brilliant effect on the business, to be honest. We've obviously gained Gareth as a full-time employee. We've gained a whole bunch of experience and knowledge and efficiency in processes and new processes that we'd never been able to do before. I didn't think we thought it was going to be as good as it was, and we're trying to move and take the technology and the processes that we've learnt over at St Athan and bring them back to Gaydon as well. So as a full company side of things, it will be a big benefit to us.
We're not only retaining talent in Wales, we're actually bringing it back across the border, which is fantastic. To see the benefit of Smart Partnerships in Wales, to see that benefit happening in St Athan and seeing those cars come off the end of the line, knowing that 2 graduates have had a very direct impact to that is absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you very much. I think it's important to recognise here that the 3-way partnership and how they all benefited. So in brief, and there are many more benefits than the ones I'm just going to say, but Aston Martin, just to put it all into perspective, invested around £45,000 in this project. And the outcomes from that investment have been amazing. They are now benefiting from a yearly saving over £500,000 and streamlined the process that had previously taken 3 months down to 30 minutes. With regards to the associates, they were both offered full-time positions at Aston Martin. And also the University of Wales Trinity St David were enabled to enhance teaching and learning, marketing and recruitment and staff development as a result of the Smart Partnership. Next slide, please. So just a couple of links for you. I understand there's a lot of information to take in with regards to a presentation. So all information on Smart Partnerships and how to apply, along with the success stories shown today and others, are shown on the link below, on the link on the screen now. You're not alone in filling out application forms. We've got staff enabling who will be able to help. You're advised to engage with your dedicated research development manager in the Welsh Government to ensure that your potential project aligns with Smart Partnerships. What we don't want you to do is start applying, fill out an application form when perhaps another line of funding would be more relevant to you. The Research Development Manager within the Welsh Government for the Swansea area is Terry Stubbs. I've got his email address there. But also, please chat to Jess Hughes from Swansea University. She will be able to help with the applications as well. So that leads me to finish my part for this afternoon session. Thank you ever so much, everybody, for listening. And if you do need to get in contact with me directly, then Jess will have my my email address and will be able to distribute that for me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Natalie. That was great. Okay, so our fourth presentation today is from Howard Nichols at the Knowledge Transfer Network, who's going to give us some more information on the Knowledge Transfer Partnership Programme.
Hello, my name's Howard Nichols. I work for KTN and I would like to talk to you today about the Knowledge Transfer Partnerships. I'm really grateful to Natalie for having outlined Smart Partnerships, because you can imagine that Smart Partnerships are a small, shorter version of KTP, and much of the difference between Smart Partnership and KTP is scale. So I'm going to talk you through the structure and how KTPs work, and hopefully you'll get a better idea of the benefits and the deliverables for participating in a KTP. Next slide, please. So my name's Howard Nichols. My contact details are there and I'm very happy to be contacted if you have ideas to explore about the potential for using KTP. Very happy to hear from you. Next slide, please. The structure of the KTP and its funding comes down from, in the highest level from government, from BEIS, the Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy Department. UKRI sits underneath that, and together with the co-funders from the devolved administrations, it provides money into the budget that allows KTP to be funded. The funding is managed by Innovate UK, but to assist with that, the KTN helps with the delivery and the operational aspects of KTP. KTP is a national scheme that is delivered UK-wide, but Welsh Government are strong supporters of KTP. Next slide, please. So if you can move through this slide, the first requirement for a KTP is that the business has to have a strategic vision or a need and appetite for change. It's got to firstly recognize that there's a gap in knowledge, skills and expertise. One of the mistakes a lot of people make is to start off with a project and then try and fit that project to a KTP. And it's much easier if you understand and recognize that there's a gap in expertise that can be filled with a partnership with a university. That's the underpinning requirement of KTP. Move on, please. The knowledge, skills, and expertise that you gain through the KTP project is intended to be embedded in the business and leave behind a legacy capability that differentiates KTP from a typical consultancy arrangement. All of this is delivered by an associate. Move on, please. The associate is able to orchestrate the delivery of that knowledge and embed it within the organization. Next slide, please. I've got a similar set of numbers to Helen earlier on, and the background numbers of KTP are that there are 822 current partnerships with over 108 current knowledge-based partners. That's 775 business partners, and you can see on the right-hand side there how the money for this sums up across the nationwide figures. That's 106 million program value, but that is small when you think that the intention of this, in a similar way to smart partnerships, is to deliver an 8 times return on investment for the companies. The company's agenda is to have that return on investment and to embed new capabilities and the capacity to innovate within the company. And KTP is well structured and tried and tested to try and deliver that in companies in Wales. Next slide, please. The KTP is intended to sit towards the higher TRL levels. So it's at the implementation end of TRL rather than the research end. Implementation and commercial exploitation is very high on the agenda of a KTP, and we are structured in the applications to reward partnerships that are that have an appetite for early implementation and exploitation. Next slide, please. So the timings of the calls for the competitions, which are underneath the IFS platform now on with Innovate UK, is Wednesday, the 27th of January. That's the next call. And feedback should be issued by April to see whether or not you've got approval for that grant. Next slide, please. So the how to apply is in the first instance started by having the right idea and then finding the right partner. We have Swansea University here today, and the structure of developing a relationship or partnership can be helped by the various business development managers, which have already been outlined in the earlier slide, or by contacting knowledge transfer advisors. I'm a knowledge transfer advisor based in Wales, but you can see from the map that there are knowledge transfer advisors right around the country. The business and the university jointly develop a project plan. They contact co-funders and present them with what we call a fact-find form, and then they submit an application. And that's a process that is driven periodically. There are 6 calls a year, and the funding is stable and available year on year. Next slide, please. So any UK business of any size or not-for-profit organisation can apply. The business, typically an SME, will need to contribute at least 33% of project costs a year. There's more for large businesses. However, Welsh Government has temporarily adjusted that contribution to 25%, up to the January 21 close that I mentioned earlier on. These projects need to demonstrate a business need, a market opportunity, and how the knowledge gained is going to be embedded within the business. But if you have those elements, these projects have a very high success rate of being supported. Next slide, please. So KTP is not just about commercial value. It is about embedding societal skills and health into the organization. We also consider environmental impact as important. We want the creation of well-paid, highly skilled jobs, and often these are in economically challenged areas. Things that can result from KTPs might be IP, patents, royalties, and exploitation of existing university IP. It can produce for universities case studies that influence their funding from funding schemes such as REF or CEF. Papers and conference publications can result from a KTP, and it can feed back to provide input back to the teaching curriculum and feed future research collaborations. Obviously, the partnership and the collaboration with academics can have other spin-off benefits. The value is meant to be in three distinct areas. Firstly, value to the company. Secondly, value to the academic. And thirdly, value to the associate that delivers the knowledge transfer. Next slide, please. So what does it cost? The company, unlike smart partnerships where the contribution can be in kind, KTP requires a cash contribution to support the KTP. The contribution is 33% for SMEs typically, and 50% for large companies. And these costs typically result in a 25 to 40K per annum, depending on associate salary, etc., contribution by the company. There are also costs that might be associated with the exploitation of the new knowledge, and can the company afford it? So we want to be able to put KTPs into fertile and ambitious companies that have the ability to exploit the knowledge transfer. Next slide, please. So the company gets for its money between 67 or 50% towards the costs of the strategic project, paid by the government and de-risking the innovation. It is to provide access to exceptional resources, personnel and facilities of the university. And it provides a dedicated and focused team to deliver the project. So it isn't just the associate working in isolation, it is providing support from the academics to transfer the knowledge through the associate into the company. And the ambition is to create transformation of the organization. Often we see culture and performance improvements. And there's an opportunity for the company to retain the KTP associate at the end of the project as an employee. Next slide, please. So one of the variants of KTPs recently introduced is a specific KTP that is called a management KTP, involving knowledge transfer from a business school. Next slide, please. These are funded by BAYS specifically, and just like a KTP, management KTPs create this three-way partnership between the company, an academic team in the business school, and a skilled graduate. Management KTPs focus specifically on increasing effectiveness and improving results through better management practices. They stimulate productivity and resilience, and they aim to enable transformational improvement by identifying key strategic management-based initiatives to increase business effectiveness. Next slide, please. So who can benefit from a management KTP? Well, growth-oriented SMEs are the primary target. SMEs that are eager to build their management strategy by introducing better management practices. Productivity gains are at the heart of a management KTP, and in fact, BAYS requires and asks for a benchmarking of productivity at the start, so that we can establish what improvement can be expected and aimed for through the results of the project. We're looking for organizations to upskill their people and make a step change in improvements in productivity by deploying these industry-leading practices and innovation processes. Next slide, please. So the breadth of KTPs would be that if they are focusing on a single specific piece of knowledge transfer, they possibly mightn't be supported. But if they're deploying a range of management practices that drive business performance, then they are exactly in the remit of the scheme. Projects can and should work across different business functions, operations, logistics, IT, finance, production, and different management practices deployed across these different business functions should come together as a top-level management strategy. Next slide, please. So, how do you apply for KTPs and even management KTPs? Well, the KTN has presented information in a good application guide. This application guide can be found online and highlights what you need to include in an application, what assessors are looking for, and it provides you with top 10 tips on how to produce applications. Next slide, please. So my contact details are at the beginning of this presentation, and there's also more general contact details for the KTN and KTP inquiries on this slide. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thanks, Howard. I really appreciate that. Okay, so our final presentation today, before we go to the Q&A session, is from Professor Owen Guy at Swansea University, who has led on a number of KTP projects over the last couple of years, and will give us his experience of the programme. Over to you, Owen.
Thanks, Jess. So I just wanted to highlight the benefits of KTPs and indeed smart partnerships, and just give you an idea of where they could ultimately lead. So if we move on to the next slide, please, James. So, and to do that, I want to give you the end picture, if you like. So we can start off at the end, which is the Centre for Integrative Semiconductor Materials. This is a new £90 million centre headed by Professor Paul Meredith, myself and Dr. Matt Elwin and Dr. Mike Jennings from engineering. And this centre is in part due to a KTP, which Howard will remember, back in, I think, in 2010, 2011, which we started with a company called SPTS. SPTS is a company which makes semiconductor equipment. They're based in Newport. So it was really the relationship built during that KTP with SPTS that in part certainly contributed to the end goal of CISM and this £90 million project, which will produce or which will build a new fab, a new semiconductor foundry at the Bay campus by 2022. So if we move to the next slide, I just want to take you through that story. So SPTS, as I said, They sponsored the KTB back in 2011. And the benefits of that have been multiple, in that KTP associate actually went on to join Imperial College, and from there he became a professor in Chongqing University in China. So it had massive benefits for the associate as well. And it's all cyclical, because once he was in China, he then collaborated with us, with Swansea University, on a Newton Fund project, a big £1 million project, developing sensors for detection of hepatitis. So all these things have generated into huge benefits. Now, CISM, as I mentioned, one of the key building blocks was the original KTP, and that developed further into Innovate UK projects. It drew in more partners, and SPTS formed a connection with other companies in the semiconductor sector in South Wales, in particular IQE. IQE make epitaxial wafers for big brand phone manufacturers. And we also drew into the mix a company called Newport Wafer Fab. Newport Wafer Fab, again, based in Newport, is the UK's biggest silicon foundry, the biggest manufacturing place in the UK for silicon devices, silicon wafers. And of course, this has also been integrated into an even bigger development in Wales. There's something like £700 million of investment from both government and private investment gone into the semiconductor industry in South Wales over the last few years. So of course, that's not all down to the KTP, but I'd like to think that at least some of it has been initiated by the KTP. Next slide, please. So SPTS are a KTP partner. They've come full circle, and last year we actually initiated another KTP, a new KTP with SPTS, developing some new technologies. We're also hoping to do another KTP with Newport Wafer Fab, and a smart partnership with another partner called Zimmer and Peacock. So I've just put the application into Natalie regarding that one, actually. So hopefully that'll come back with a positive outcome. So just to emphasize, this one KTP has led to others and has brought in new industrial partners and new collaborators to the university. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to highlight then the range of technologies that we're involved with, and that stems from automotive to communications, 5G technologies, solar power, solar energy, battery technologies. Energy storage is going to be a massive sector in the next few years in relation to electric vehicles, but also wireless and autonomous technologies. And then, of course, we have aerospace, locomotive, and then healthcare. So all these technologies require input from semiconductors, and so there's huge scope for knowledge transfer from the university and from industry back into the university in these sectors. And KTP and smart partnerships are a superb way of building these relationships. I also want to emphasize how much the companies like the KTP format. So, there's a dual benefit here, or a triple benefit actually. One to the company, the other one to the university, and the third one obviously to the associate, the person who actually is taken on to do that research. We saw an example in Aston Martin earlier, and we also have seen examples I've mentioned about the SPTS associate going on to greater things in China. Next slide, please. So huge range of possibilities for KTPs, especially in the areas of health, and also in digital technology. So I see massive opportunities for computer science, KTPs in computer science, in relation to artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and of course, applying these technologies to things like healthcare, to things like well-being, remote monitoring, real-time monitoring of diseases. This is going to be the next stage of technology development. Next slide, please. I just wanted to highlight another example of a company that we've started working with very recently, and this is actually developing a COVID symptoms monitor. So this monitor, and there's one actually installed in the Life Science building, Life Science 2 building in Swansea. This is a remote or non-contact temperature monitoring system, which also measures blood oxygenation. This system is really about getting the economy going again, to enable people to test themselves and have confidence in going back into the work environment. So we're working with Atterbury at the moment to trial that system, and also to try and implement it more pervasively in the university environment, to demonstrate how effective it can be in getting people back into the workplace safely. So that's another possibility of a smart partnership project or a KTP project that we could do in the future, developing that technology and expanding it into other areas, for example, asthma monitoring, or detection of other diseases and monitoring of other diseases. Next slide, please. So of course, this has also potential benefits into the university, and those stem right from research projects. As I said, the KTP spawned other research projects, particularly EPSRC projects and Innovate UK projects, industry visits and talks. So we have members of those industries that we've done KTPs with now, or on our industrial advisory board in chemistry. Those companies are also talking to us about sponsoring students for year in industry projects. And of course, the students get to experience the company environment, from everything from final year projects up to fully sponsored PhDs. So I hope that's given you a flavor of how effective smart partnerships and KTPs can be in leading to other benefits and other opportunities. Thanks.
That's great. Thanks, Owen. Really appreciate that. Thank you to all of our speakers today. It's been great to have you on and talking about the programme and your experiences of the programmes. And it's been really informative. So yes, thank you. We are running, we're going on to a Q&A, and then we'll be running one-to-one sessions with Howard, Natalie, Terry Stubbs and myself to talk through any potential ideas for projects that you may have. So if you would like to join us for a breakout session, then please let us know and we can pencil you in. So next we have the Q&A session. If anyone would like to raise any questions, please put them into the Q&A chat and we will present them to the speakers. Teresa, if you're still on the line, I'll hand over to you for the Q&A session.
Hi there. There's a question from Julia Terry for Natalie. Can Natalie please say more about the in-kind contribution? I work with small charities who would not be able to support financially. Do we have an idea of time commitment if that is an in-kind meant?
Yes, so with regards to in-kind contribution, Julia, so for example, the in-kind contribution could be, say for example, you had a member of staff already working within the charity, that had the relevant and qualifications for the proposed project, their time could act as, their salary could act as a contribution. So say, for example, that person was on £24,000 per annum, and they were working 100% of their time on the project, then that would be your contribution. So say, for example, the total project cost was 48,000, the 24,000 would be the in contribution in kind. And to demonstrate that, there would be timesheets to fill out, and also evidence that that person is working on the project. But that is going into the whole nitty-gritty paperwork side of stuff. Alternatively, or you could have company staff working within the charity. For example, yourself may be able to offer some expertise and knowledge to the project. So again, timesheets would be filled out, and it would need to be demonstrated on the amount of hours you worked against your salary and how much that would contribute to the project. So that is another option. There are various options, but that's just two to highlight.
There's another one. So smart partnerships, how many can an SME have?
There's no limit on the amount of smart partnerships you can have, as long as the projects identify a different business area. However, what we envisage is that once a smart partnership is done, you want to go on to bigger and better things, and really perhaps look at engaging in a KTP. But there is no limit.
Okay, one more from smart partnership in-kind costs from organisations. Can equipment be used as a match?
Yes, it can. But again, evidence would need to be shown that this equipment is being used for the project. But again, that goes into the nitty-gritty that can be discussed when the application is being written. But yes, it can.
Great, that's all the questions outstanding. Oh.
Hi, Teresa, I just had another one come through, so I just popped that across to you.
Okay, I'm just looking. Do regional KTP managers have a knowledge of expertise across the entire UK to match business problems with university expertise? I guess that's a Howard question.
Sorry, can you repeat it? Do
regional KTP managers have a knowledge of expertise across the entire UK to match business problems with university expertise?
Typically, the projects are generated by the companies having an appetite to engage with universities. So we don't have a specific database that identifies willing companies and identifies willing academics and puts them together. That tends to happen before we get involved. The knowledge transfer advisor role is typically to foster that existing relationship and enable it to be turned into a KTP. And if sometimes it isn't appropriate for a KTP, a KTA might encourage a smart partnership, for example, to occur as an alternative. But fostering and establishing those relationships is probably our role, rather than knowing all the companies already who want to work and all the academics that want to work with each other.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions have come in. So, can the KTP fund a PhD studentship so that the associate is undertaking a PhD?
A KTP associate can undertake a PhD, but the funding restriction is limited, very limited, about what we can take from the budget. But an incidental delivery of a PhD through the work from a KTP is absolutely allowable. It's just the budget has to be discussed carefully.
Great. I can't see any more questions at the moment. I think that's it, Jess.
Great, thanks, Teresa. Okay, well, if anyone has any other questions that they think of later, then please contact us directly, and I'm sure we can answer those questions or put you in contact with Howard and Natalie if it needs further clarification. We are a little bit ahead of time today, which is great. As I said, we do have the breakout one-to-one session, so if we do have a couple of slots available, if anyone would still like to join us. Sorry, lost track of where I am now. The one-to-one sessions are running as a separate meeting, so we have sent a link out to those who pre-registered for a one-to-one session, and we can send the link on to those who would be interested in joining us too. We did have another question come through from Jeff asking if smart partnerships are complementary to Innovate UK projects. Natalie, I don't know whether you'd like to take that one if you're still on the line.
Yeah, I'm still on the line. So, Jeff, thank you for your question. Smart partnerships are solely funded by the Welsh Government. It's funded by Welsh Government money, whereas KTP's is Innovate UK's programme, and the Welsh Government are one of their funders. So, yes, smart partnerships do obviously springboard onto other projects, Innovate UK projects such as KTP, and obviously they've got Innovate UK have got a wide portfolio of projects that other people use as well, following on from smart partnerships. Does that answer your question? I don't know whether, how would you want to add to that?
I think in terms of the complementarity, the project in a smart partnership needs to have additional challenge and additional objectives over and above those that would be part of a KTP. So you've got to have clear blue water between the challenges, but certainly one is meant to springboard into another, and that complementarity is absolutely what we aim for.
Thank you. I think Jeff wanted to add ask a little bit more with regards to that. In terms of funding in kind, I'm assuming if we're moving from a smart partnership into a KTP.
If that is the case, then your smart partnership can be funded by a business in kind or financial or a mixture of both, whereas a KTP is solely financial.
Great, thanks, Natalie. So I think you can get, okay, so Jeff has, I think he's looking at running a smart partnership in conjunction with Innovate UK. I think that from my experience, obviously you can't have a smart partnership and Innovate UK funding the same activity. So they would have to be separate projects, but one, as we said, as Natalie said and Howard, that the KTP can spring on, sorry, the smart partnership can spring on to the a larger KTP project. But yes, absolutely, we can catch up offline on that and discuss in more detail. So another question has come through saying, can KTP or smart partnerships fund research projects with partners from Swansea University if the principal investigator is on a fixed term research contract and not a permanent contract? Howard or Natalie, I don't know if you would know the answer to that.
So I'm just rereading the question a minute, Chair.
I think we'd rely on Swansea to take a view as to whether that principal investigator, or we would call them the academic supervisor, has sufficient tenure to be able to commit to the KTP for the life of the project. So if it's a 6-month contract, clearly that is going to be introduce vulnerabilities into supporting the KTP. And it's a question of having a discussion with Swansea University to guarantee that there's sufficient stability in the support of the KTP.
Yeah, I'll echo what Howard has said. Obviously, it might be more doable with regards to a smart partnership because it's only 6 to 12 months. But longer term, you know, KTPs are anything from 12 to 36 months, so that might provide a bit of a challenge on that one. But it is probably worth a discussion on a case-by-case basis.
Yes, definitely. Thank you both. From a Swansea University perspective, yes, you'd need to be employed long enough to see out the project, and that's something that we would discuss internally as required. So we have a question from Jonathan asking, do you have any information on the state aid rules surrounding both smart partnerships and KTPs, and are they de minimis based?
So it doesn't count towards de minimis, and because KTP is funding the knowledge transfer, it can be excluded from the state aid counting, you know, the state aid rules. So it isn't subject to de minimis.
Yeah, with these type of projects, the business is actually contributing. So, like Howard said, it's okay.
Okay, thank you both. And then we've been asked if there are some specific case studies relating to projects with not-for-profit organisations. I'm not sure if there are example case studies on the websites, or if we can access them somehow that we could circulate them out to attendees afterwards.
Yeah, with regards to KTPs and SPs or smart partnerships that we've supported, Jess, they are all on the link that is on the last slide of my presentation. And also Howard, correct me if I'm wrong, KTN website will also have case studies as well.
Yeah, so I put recently a case study up on the St David's Children's Society, which was a fantastic KTP involving knowledge transfer from the School of Psychology into an adoption agency to make them more resilient and more able to deal with links with the public sector. And it was a terrific KTP, and they've won awards, and yeah, they were a charity, and we've got a case study that we put up on the KTN website.
Yeah, and to add to that as well, on the link of the last slide of my presentation, if you go into that link and go to the KTP section, there is information on that partnership with St David's, and there's some press releases, there's a final case study, so it goes through the life basically of the project. That really is a good example.
Oh, great, thank you. Okay, and then the next question is, what is the turnaround time for submission to decision on smart partnerships and KTPs if we broaden it out to both programs?
Okay, so with regards to smart partnerships, it's very much a rolling call. So what I mean by that is when the application comes into us, we look at it as soon as possible, really. So on average, I would say from the time that it's put on my desk to the time the decision is made is anything in between sort of 2 to 4 weeks. Sometimes a little bit longer if we have to go back to the partnership and request further information. But if it's all smooth sailing application, you know, and I can get the appraisal team together, it's on average about 4 weeks. And you can submit that application at any time. There's not a particular date or submission date.
So for KTP, there are 6 closes a year, as I said, and the next one on the 27th of January gets feedback issued on the 22nd of April. So you can see there's a couple of months lag for the funding decision to be communicated, but that occurs on a rolling timetable 6 times a year.
Great, thanks both. And another question has come through from Glenn asking, can any of the KTP or smart partnership options be applied to the creative community projects working with people and groups who are defined by their lack of access to knowledge and opportunity?
Yeah, we've got a great KTP at the moment going on with Cerebra, a charity for brain injured children, that is specifically about increasing access for their users to the knowledge that they've got. Particularly genomic knowledge of the various diseases that inflict their users. So it's very much guided and focused on that knowledge gap for the users.
Thank you, Howard. Yeah, that KTP that Howard just said is one of the ones the Welsh Government is currently supporting. With regard to smart partnerships, it is something that we would look at, but to date, I haven't had any projects such as the ones you've asked, but it's not something, you know, it is something that we would look at if there was interest.
Great. In that case, I ask our attendees to come forward with ideas so we can put in some applications and get some projects going. There's a question from Jeff with regards to how much we can pay an associate on a smart partnership.
Yeah,
I'm not sure whether that is more of an internal question to Swansea University, or Natalie, if you can help with that.
Yeah, like very much I think it's a bit of both, to be honest with you, Jess. Obviously it depends if the associate, like I discussed in my presentation, there's 2 ways the associate can be employed, one being university directly, so obviously it depends on their scale grades, and then obviously the associate can be employed by the company, so it very much differs. You know, I've seen salary costs of £18,000 a year, I've seen them for a lot more. It depends on the nature of the project and who's employing them.
Great, thanks Natalie. Okay, I think that's the end of the questions for this afternoon. As I said, we've got the one-to-one sessions following this, which is going to start at 3:30. I think we're going to try and put the link to those one-to-one sessions in the question and answer, or we'll try and circulate it out at least if anyone would still like to join us. We only have a couple of slots left available. But otherwise, thank you again to our speakers and to everyone for coming along today. Our Swansea Link network wouldn't be a network without you guys, so we really do appreciate you coming along, and see you again soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.